Question number one is, where did you grow up and what was it like? So I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I have an older brother and a younger sister. And my mom, single mom, she was a waitress. So we grew up on tips growing up in the hood. So it was rough, man. Didn't have a whole lot, but had a lot of love. We had a lot of family out there as well, which is, I guess, a little bit fortunate and unfortunate. My grandparents, my cousins, and my aunt all lived in the same housing project, man. So obviously it was a little tough growing up. You see a lot of crime. I remember helicopters flying over with the spotlights, man. That still kind of sticks with you because that means someone's very dangerous on foot, very close. And so that happened, fortunately, only like 2 or 3 times. But hey, you learn a lot from that, man. One valuable lesson I took from growing up in an environment like that was hard work and sacrifice, because there were no other options. There's no give-me's there, right? It's all hard work and hustle. So that was a huge lesson I took away. And secondly, I saw a lot of drugs and alcohol and a lot of death, destruction, and imprisonment that were tied to drugs and alcohol. So today, as I'm 48, man, I've never touched beer, wine, alcohol, marijuana, drugs of any kind, because it just got instilled in me at a young age what those things bring to you. Because I've seen it too many times from a young age as I grew up, where people ended up who practice, getting involved with any kind of drugs and alcohol. So a very valuable lesson I took from that. A second valuable lesson would be just education. I noticed people who did well in school had more opportunity, right? So I took school seriously. I actually liked school, graduated, number 9 in my class and got a full scholarship to A&M, studied computer science. And that kind of really set me up well, set a really solid foundation, which I'm very grateful for the opportunity, because the high school I went to, they were like, man, you should not go to that high school. It is no good. But they did the best they could with what they had. And it was good enough for me, right? It was good enough for me. And so I'm thankful for it and appreciate not just where I grew up, but how I grew up, because, it makes you who you are today. Second question is, what has been the greatest guide and influence for your life? Okay, that's a good question. Greatest guide and influence from life. I would say growing up, obviously my mom, because that was what we had, right? She was a small little thing, man, but she was tough, because she knew the environment we were growing up in, and she knew she had to protect us from that environment. Sometimes I feel like she overdid it, man. She was so tough on us, but I thank God for her today. She's the toughest woman I know, no question. And she instilled in us faith. We learned that at a young age. I remember growing up, man, she cranked those gospel music up really loud to wake us up on Sunday, be blaring through the house. My brother hated it. He probably still wakes up on Sundays to this day angry. But anyway, that's how she woke us up, and we were in church a lot, man. Wheatley Heights Baptist Church in San Antonio on the east side. But, you learn a lot about faith, and I carry that with me to this day. Have a relationship with the Lord and read it daily, and it guides my life, right? I think the best day for me was the day that I woke up and I realized that God was smarter than I was, right? Best day for me, because I began to submit my will to follow his will, and I see him now as the most wise, loving, and just God in the universe. That's how I see him now. And I appreciate the relationship that I have with him. And it shapes who I am as a person, as a dad, as a business owner, entrepreneur, husband, right? All of those things I view through the lens of the scripture. And so that would definitely be my greatest guide and influence in my life. My mom initially, and then I would say God or Jesus Christ after that. Third question is, in your professional career, what was your greatest lesson learned? Greatest lesson learned in my professional career. Oh man, I remember this. So I was in Silicon Valley in system tests. So we have these large systems, and I was responsible for testing the software that runs on all this equipment. And so you're finding defects, anomalies, you report those, you work with software design to fix them, and you get everything running properly before we ship, right? And so I remember I was moving the marketing and someone was taking my position, right? So she took over the position, and I don't know, about a week or two in, she begins reporting, Brian didn't do his job. There's so many bugs that he did not find. I can't believe that he was allowed to work in this, important position with all of these errors and issues. And I read this really long, complicated email, and she copied everybody, right? Our bosses and the VP of engineering, everyone was copied. And I remember being at home reading this email, so frustrated, man. Because I worked hard, I documented everything. I took my job seriously, because if that software ships and there are bugs found in the field, they're very expensive. It exposes the company to public ridicule, and I took the job very seriously. So I took it personally when she came out against me in that way. But I remember, man, I didn't do anything. I just felt like the Lord was saying, just be still with this, right? Don't respond. I did not write a single thing. I typed it up, and it had some fire on it too, but I never hit send. And I remember I got to work the next day. His name is John, and John grabbed me very early in the morning when I got in. He pulled me aside and said, hey, listen, I understand what happened. I got the email, obviously. A lot of people did. He says, I'm very well aware of the work that you do and the quality of the work that you do. And he says, I'm also very well aware of the work that she does and the quality of work that she does. And he says, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And that was it. That was all he said. And it was a short meeting. And about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she was gone. They had terminated her. Apparently, they had some other issues that they were facing with her. But that just threw such a huge ripple in the pond that they figured, you know what, I think we've had enough, and they let her go. I can still see her face now. But the lesson that I learned from that is, you can't respond immediately out of emotion, right? Let logic rule. There's a lot of mistakes that I think we make because we let emotion take over. And when emotion goes up, intelligence goes down. So the better we can manage those emotions and allow logic to rule, especially in situations like that where patience would dictate a better outcome, I've learned to put that in practice more as I've gotten older. Last question. What does multipliers mean to you? Hey man, I'm a huge fan of multipliers. Chris, Scott, Yari, Kevin, man, I love what those guys are doing, and I appreciate it. I think that, you hear it's lonely at the top. These guys have created a cool, healthy, vibrant community of business owners who value, life and family and wellness and health, and also wealth and entrepreneurism and, is that a word? Entrepreneurism? They value business and growing those businesses. And what's cool is how much information that's shared throughout the community. And that's what makes it thrive and grow, right? Not just sharing business ideas, but real life, sharing from the heart, and also just sharing strategies. And what's cool is, a lot of us are in the same business, but we just share information openly. I've been able to collaborate with some guys to do some joint partnerships. It's just been awesome. It's just a really cool experience and a bunch of cool guys at the same time. Very rare, and I value and appreciate it as a result. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you, brothers and sisters, because Yari is very much an influential leader in their own right. Appreciate the work that you guys do. Very much appreciate it. Much love. Peace.